Last episode, we spent a much needed day out on the water before getting stuck into putting the head gasket on our freshly machined cylinder head for the second time. We got Joey off the block, starting with a few test drives around the caravan park before venturing out to the main roads. These tests were super positive. Joey was running really well and we thought we had finally fixed him. We said goodbye to everyone in the caravan park and you wouldn't believe it, but Joey started running super rough only 200 metres down the road. We pulled over and honestly just couldn't believe what had happened. This hit both of us hard. After months of working on the van, one failed attempt and numerous test drives after a second try, we thought we had done it and we were so excited to continue our travels. We felt a bit embarrassed after only saying goodbye 30 minutes ago, but we knew our only option was to get taken back to the caravan park again to work out our next plan.
G'day, I'm Will.
Woo, how good is this?
And this is Luce.
Let's do it!
And together, we are travelling around Australia in our 1987 Toyota Hiace named Joey.
Oh, no way.
It's such a nice day.
Follow along to see these roads we roam. Come on, big fella. I think this might be the end of this engine.
Really?
I just don't know what it could be.
After, what, 2.5 months probably almost, 2 top-end rebuilds, 2 new head gaskets, a week of positive test drives, only to break down 200 metres outside the park on the day we're leaving with pretty much the same symptoms.
I think that maybe, the engine block was the problem all along. And because this engine's already been rebuilt once, then this is probably the last leg for it.
We assumed it was the same issue as before, but once we had gathered ourselves after a few days of being frustrated and upset, we did a compression test, which actually came back fine. Confusing, huh?
So we went back to basics, checking spark, fuel, checking for vacuum leaks, checked the timing, everything we've now done a million times before. We thought outside the box, looking into the valve train and making sure all our lifters were functioning correctly, but everything seemed fine until we decided to pull out our distributor. So we have a bit of movement in the cam, so can you see the points? There, if I was to rotate that lobe up so that they open, that's where they should be, but I can then move this post and open them up. There shouldn't be any movement, but I can almost double that point gap, just with my fingers. And the other concern is I've also got a bit of wiggle in this lobe, in and out too. We thought it was worth a shot seeing if this was the issue, so we ordered a new one, which took 2 weeks to arrive. Okay, this is our last grasp at hope of fixing this thing by myself, and this part here is a brand new distributor and it controls the timing of the spark. Fingers crossed, the last grip of hope. Please. So the first step when replacing your distributor is to leave a little mark like I've already done there, a little white mark there, showing where cylinder 1's firing point is. So now I've just got to rotate the engine until this little rotor is facing that little white dot, so I know that the engine's at top dead center. And that way when I put the new distributor in, it's going in the exact same timing as this current one. With a screwdriver is just rotate the engine clockwise the way it would normally rotate, and you can see that little rotor inside the distributor rotates as well. And then once I've got it roughly to that point there, I'll get my little torch, make sure I'm exactly at top dead center, so when I pull the distributor out, I'll mark up the new one to go in the exact same way, and then hopefully I don't have any issues with changing timing or nothing. So I've rotated the engine to top dead center, and I've taken note of where this rotor button is pointing, so I know that the engine's in time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that one off, and I've got the ring seal for the new distributor. Seeing as I've marked that one, I'm going to line this up as accurately as I can with that one there. I'm going to copy this mark on the old one onto the new one, so that way when that one goes in, I know pretty bang on exactly where I need to have this facing, the cam lobe facing, so it goes in the right gear tooth. Obviously there's a couple ways to test it once I've got the new one in without starting the engine up, so I'll obviously do them as well, but I think this is going to be the easiest way to mirror up the timing, because this can only go on one way because it's got these little slots there. So I'm pretty sure that's a relatively surefire way to go. Alright, it's getting a bit dark now, but we'll persevere. It's time to pull the old distributor out. I've made all the markings I believe I can make as accurately as I can. Everything's fixable though, but let's crack the timing nut that holds the whole distributor housing in. That's our little retaining nut. Alright, no turning back. Out rotating it. Nothing's moved, all good. Slide him out. Bingo, boingo, bango. That's the old one. As you can see, it's got all those tiny little helical gears there, all offset. So we need to make sure that our new one goes back in the exact same slot that this one come out of. But if I've done my markings alright, we should be good. We'll have a win, I think. Exciting. Alright, so with great ease and absolutely no difficulties whatsoever, we got that new distributor in. So now what we're going to do is check to make sure that I am 100% on the right tooth and roughly in time. I've turned the engine to 4 degrees before top dead center, which for this engine is when the firing should occur, 4 degrees before the piston hits the top. So the way we can test this is I've got just a simple test lamp here. I've got it on the actual terminal point of the distributor, and that way when I touch this to an earth, this pen should light up saying I've got electricity running through the circuit at that very specific point in time. So I've manually pushed the engine to where it needs to be. We'll turn on the ignition and go to an earth. Happy days. Good. So I was a little bit wrong. It's very, very advanced. It's firing about 50 degrees before top dead center, because it means that I've actually put the distributor in the wrong spot. So it's not right. So yes, that circuit was a quick little test, but as I said, it's not exactly perfect. So what I'm going to do now is make sure my point gap is 100% correct and not just roughly correct, and I'm going to go over this distributor again and make sure I'm actually in the right spot, because just at a quick look then the engine's firing way too early. So that's all good, we can fix that. That's not a true test yet. Okay. Come back for take 2.
Oh my god, okay.
So the distributor was in, Joey was running a lot better, of course many test drives followed. All was looking good. The night before we planned to leave, we did a drive to the beach to try and find some baby turtles hatching. Unfortunately, we didn't see any, but the bad luck just didn't end there. We went to start the car and head back to the caravan park, but something just didn't sound right.
Our exhaust was severely leaking and was so loud. We drove back to the caravan park, loudly, and as we were leaving early in the morning, the only thing we could try for a quick fix was some JB weld to seal the join. We knew this would be a temporary fix, but we just had to get to Perth and get it fixed up properly.
So we finally left Exmouth. We had some friends heading south, so we decided to hang together just in case anything happened. All was looking good until about 50 k's down the road, Joey started to overheat. It was about 40 degrees by now and we had some hectic headwinds, so we put it down to that and decided to find a place to pull up and drive at night time in the cooler temperatures until we got further south. So day one, we only made it 200 kilometres from Exmouth, stopping every 10 minutes to let Joey cool down.
We kept high spirits with our friends and just thought it was a hot day. Joey does sometimes struggle on really hot days. We planned to get a few more hours down in the cooler night temperatures, get some sleep, and hopefully by then the difference in day temperature would be okay.
Day 2, we tried to drive in the much cooler day temperatures, but Joey was still struggling. We also had an issue with the carby's throttle linkage completely falling off. This drive just wasn't going smoothly, but we were so close to being in Perth, where there were a lot of mechanics, so we just decided to keep driving through the night, and as long as Joey was running, we would make it.
By the third day, we were all so tired. We stopped about an hour or two out of Perth the night before, so we just got up early to drive during the cool morning temperature this time, in hopes we could get Joey's exhaust fixed. Luckily, we found a guy that had a spot and fixed it all up for us within an hour.
After this, we went to a caravan park with our friends just to relax after a hectic few days driving at night. But we had made it to Perth. Now we can iron out any issues Joey still has, as Perth has a lot of mechanic shops to choose from.
But first, Will had a much needed pre-planned trip home to visit family for a week, which is why we were in such a rush to get to Perth. I dropped him off at the airport and waited for my parents to fly into Perth to visit me. Will had some time at home with his family and got to catch up with friends too. My parents had hired a motorhome for a week, as Joey was way too small for all three of us. We planned to travel in the southwest to visit some family we hadn't seen in a while. Here are some highlights. We both had a great time with family, a much needed little break from the troubles of the van. Once Will got back, it was time to prepare for travelling the southwest. Before going anywhere, we wanted to make sure everything was in tip-top shape. But that's for another episode. I'll leave you with some wise words from my mum and dad.
Like and subscribe.
Definitely.